Hello and welcome to Parenting Differently, where we leave behind the old way of parenting and allow the gifts of parenthood to raise us. Different to perhaps how we were raised, different to how society is telling us to raise our kids, maybe even different to how you expected, just different. I'm your host, Anja Simmons, and I welcome you to this space. I am a parent of two big people, a yogi, a parenting coach, and I came into parenting as a British nanny, thinking I knew it all. I'd organized so many other families. And then I realized we were being raised together, that me and my children were being raised together, and that they were individually so wise that actually if I leaned back a little bit, I could let them be who they fully are. So I'm a bit of a different setting here, having internet difficulties on my batch of beautiful people I'm interviewing today. So bear with, hopefully this all works. I seem very shiny. I'll go with that. So my guest today, super excited, what a phenomenal woman. Her name is Kim Muench, and she's a best-selling author and the founder of A Real Life Parenting Guide. She's a certified parenting coach, mum of 5, and her book, Becoming Me Whilst Raising You. I mean, what a title. Totally excited to speak with someone who has the same philosophy and values as me, but to dive a little deeper into how they show up in her parenting. This is one thing I love. I looked on her website, and one part is talking about where she lives. But then she said, but in her heart is in building a legacy of empowered parenting. Wow. Super excited. Let's get ready to meet Kim Muench. So welcome Kim to the podcast. Very happy to have you here.
And I am so excited to be here, Anja.
Oh, awesome. And my mum will be so pleased how you say my name because because you're saying it the right way. The British way for me is Anja, but my mum is from Switzerland, and the Swiss say exactly how you do. So
and I didn't even ask you that. I should have probably asked, but no. When I saw it, I said Anja. So.
And she will love you more. So let's dive right in, Kim. Tell us a little of who you are and who you're parenting, and maybe a little bit of your parenting journey.
So I am a mother of 5. So I am mothering 5 kids who at this point, my youngest is a daughter, my only daughter. She is 16. And then I'm mothering sons that are 18, 23, 28, and 33. So I've been mothering since I was 18 years old.
Whoa.
So it's been 3+ decades of being the mom. Yeah. I am also a certified conscious parenting coach. And I specifically work with moms of adolescents, so those between ages of 10 and mid-20s. Mm-hmm. I am also married, and my husband Tom and I have been married for 29 years. So I'm also an author. So who I am is someone, actually, if I had to put it in a nutshell, who's taken motherhood from her deepest passion to also becoming her greatest role with other people. I think it's our greatest opportunity to grow ourselves up, but also I have taken that passion for that and made it my purpose to help other people understand that and, want to evolve the way they're parenting their children to one of with rather than over them.
Love it. Wow. 5. That's awesome. That is really the whole, who we want to open up and listen to is the wisdom of people who are real parents and have really gone through the day to day.
And I've tried to really learn from each one of my kids, and having had my oldest son at the age of 18, obviously was a major growing up and wake up call to my life. I had a very upper middle class upbringing and had to shift out of that and ended up leaving our family home and having to choose to raise my son on my own. So there definitely were some bumps in the road as I started motherhood. And he's also been the one that has really up-leveled my parenting because as a 20-year-old, he fell into an addiction to alcohol. So I'm sure we can get into that. But needless to say, I'm here to say motherhood is an amazing journey, and it can be such an up-leveling experience for us.
Beautiful. Yeah, we definitely can get into that. No problem. Now, um, what's wonderful is from you being a young adult, not really adult, I don't know, is 18 adult? I guess you're just on the cusp of it, right? To now in parenting, what do you think has been the biggest difference to how you parent now to when you were a young one?
Mm. I think I have learned over the years to, again, listen to my kids and listen to my own intuition. One of the things that I think parents really struggle with right now is there's so much outside information coming in, and there's so many parenting experts and books, and I mean there's no shortage of information about
Yeah.
parenting out there. And so I think parents can feel inundated, and I've tried to learn and use my intuition over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And each time I chose to go that route, and I've been in some tough spots as a parent over the years, but as I have trusted myself over time, I've learned that I I know myself and my children best. And so that's what I work with parents on now is helping them reconnect with their own intuition about the children that have come either to or through their bodies, depending, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking my language, that is huge for me because I think that's the piece that's really not being passed on to generation, that we actually do know if we can get quiet and have this trust within ourselves, then there's a way, one, you trust that child, right? There's a trust there, but there's also a way of sort of saying, I know what would work, or what to bring to the table, what to discuss, and closing off that noise of,
Yes.
yeah, it's everywhere. I mean, everybody's an expert, and ultimately, you really are the expert. You just got to figure out how to claim that. And that's
Right. And
hard.
it's funny because as I go give presentations or whatever to parents, I'm like, there's a million parenting experts out there. And so I think to myself, this is me standing in front of these people and being that. But I think what's different about me and you, if you do the same thing, is that the goal is to get the parent reconnected to their own intuition and inner wisdom, so that they can parent not the way everyone else is saying, check this box and do this and do
Yeah.
that, because our kids are all individuals and they're on their own path. And the other thing that I have learned in the hardest parts of my parenting is that I don't know why my children have come into the world. That was one thing that majorly, when my son was in active addiction and I didn't want the phone to ring because it was just, I didn't know what was going to be on the other end.
Wow.
I realized that I did not know why he had come into the world, and that all I could do was love and support him where he was at, not enable the destructive behavior in him. But other than that, I really had no control over what he was here to learn or do, or what his evolution was going to be about. And when I came to that, it was really peaceful and liberating, quite frankly, to know that I clearly had no control. I mean, we,
Right.
we have this illusion as parents that
Fully.
that we have some control,
As a
and
nanny, I
kids are
thought, well, here
little.
we go.
Yeah.
I know exactly. Yep, I hear you.
But I mean, the reality is the older they get, the less illusion there is. And when they become young adults and they're making decisions for themselves, you really have no control over. You can think you can pull the things away, you can change,
Yeah.
do the exterior things, but first of all, that's doesn't work long term, and it doesn't create the kind of relationship we want to have with our kids. So, I mean, I've learned that, and I'm so grateful to say that I have such a close relationship with my adult children, three of whom are out of the house at this point, and the other one is on his way to college. That doesn't mean I know everything about their lives. That doesn't mean we don't have challenges or disagreements, or we don't see things. We see things differently from time to time. However, overall, there is a mutual respect to our relationships and a lot of open communication. So
Yeah.
that is definitely something that I have learned over the years by trial and error.
Right, right. And also by being open to that, right?
Yeah,
By
learning.
working
Yeah.
on your own fears and your own, I know when I'm in a fearful place or stressful place, I kind of want to bring everyone close and no, this isn't happening and this isn't happening, right? And sort of having that awareness that the ultimate goal would be, I'd like them to want to spend time with me. I'd like them to keep me in their lives,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And you can't do that by force, right?
Right.
It's not going to work for
Exactly.
our partners. It's not going to work for our friendships. It's certainly not going to work, for kids. So I respect that you have shown them that you are doing the work to see, okay, what's my stuff? Where am I at? And also, okay, this is a choice. We don't have to love every choice. I mean, that's crazy, right? Like,
Right.
there's a lot. There's a lot. My daughter's looking to move out, and there's a lot that I want to go. Oh no, no, it's a dangerous world. Danger, danger, danger. Stay with mummy.
Yeah.
And that's crazy, right? That doesn't leave her with the power and the trust to make her decisions, right?
Yeah. And I find that parents want to know exactly how step by step I did something so that they can do the exact step by step process of it. And I don't always know. I mean, sometimes it is a practice of just going with your gut
Hmm.
and seeing what happens. And over time, I have learned that again, I am my greatest wisdom when it comes to myself
Hmm.
and to choices in my kids' lives, and holding space for them to make mistakes at times and
Yeah.
to veer off course and know that this is when I look back at my own life, becoming pregnant at the age of 18, that was incredibly character building, and it caused me to become resilient and grateful and
Hmm.
all the things that we know our kids need to have in order to have a life outside of our
Right.
house as adults. So I
Hmm.
mean, it's very important that that we let them experience some mistakes, and just to be there with them, not to rescue them, not to
Hmm.
not to fix it for them, but and that takes a lot of emotional maturity on our part to just hold the space when they're going through something tough, they made a bad choice or they made an unhealthy choice, to keep, that they need to be accountable for. And just it is very trying, yet continues to grow us up in the process of being a parent when we do that for our kids.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. To me, we're sacred space holders. Here's a
Mhm.
comfortable place to land, but you know, the choices you make and the way you go forward, I'm here for you. I don't have to agree with everything, but I'm here. Yeah, holding that space.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I really like that. So, what about from your childhood? Do you think has is very different to how you like the good stuff and the not so good stuff? What sort of
Okay.
created that boundary?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll start with the things that maybe weren't so that because I do, that's another thing I think I have done is I've really looked back, especially as I started getting into this challenge with parenting Nick and his addiction. I really began to look back at my parenting, but then at the way I was raised,
Right.
and want to make some conscious decisions. When I was 18 and pregnant, basically I was told I needed to leave home. Well, Nick had a similar, not that he was pregnant, but a similar major happening in his
Challenge.
life at
Right.
20. And I didn't want to just abandon him. I didn't know what to do, but I didn't want to abandon him. So I made the conscious choice to do what I really would have wanted my parents to do. And so many times in my parenting over the years, I've thought, my parents, they grounded me for grades, they grounded me for missing curfew. I mean, I was pretty much grounded junior high and senior high, quite
Oof.
frankly. And here's what it instigated: me being incredibly sneaky,
Yeah,
lying,
lying.
it all the things, and then getting caught in it, and then getting in more trouble, and then creating this relationship with my parents where there was no trust.
Yeah.
They didn't care for the choices I was making. And instead of, being that space of trying to find out what was going on beneath the surface, because quite frankly, I was looking for popularity and affection in the wrong places. I mean, so instead of trying to figure out what was going on underneath the surface, and I'm sure, I mean, I'm 52 years old, so it's not like my parent that we have so much more information now than we did then,
Sure.
but wanting to, help me in whatever way. So what I've done as a parent is really think about myself as a 16-year-old or myself as, and what would have been helpful instead of getting grounded for cheating on the science test. What would have been helpful if my mom had said to me, gosh, your teacher called and it seems like you're having trouble in science and you've gone to cheating, and that's not who I know you to be, Kim. Can we get some extra help? Because I really, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like
So I've tried
compassion,
to,
empathy. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've tried to, instead of like it being about performing for their love and affection and making sure I was doing all the right stuff, which then as a teenager, I was really missing the mark. And then continuing to make poor choices, in part because I thought, well, I'll never be good enough anyway. So I just really, with my kids, have tried to remember a little bit about my own childhood and wanting to, you know, be that parent that comes in and thinks about, like, okay, when I was a kid, what would have been helpful to me if I, had
Right.
my first car accident? What would have been, was it being yelled at? No, it wasn't. I already felt horrible. I knew it was going
Right.
to cost money and I already felt terrible. What would have been, is, my mom or dad saying, okay, Kim, what could you do differently next time?
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're safe and sound. But let's, accidents
Yeah.
will happen, but what can we do to be safer next time or whatever? That kind of talk, I think, is what our kids need. And to be honest, Anja, I think that part of the reason we're seeing some of the rise in anxiety and depression in our kids is because we need to evolve the way we're parenting. We need
100%.
to,
Yeah.
everything in the world has changed and continues to change, but we cannot parent the next generation of kids. They're clearly screaming at us,
Yes.
stop,
Oh my
stop,
gosh.
this doesn't work. And so
100%. Yeah.
my mission in part is to be the kind of parent I believe we need for this generation and the manual for our grandchildren. That's what we are writing on our grandchildren. So my goal is to not only do that with my own kids, but to talk to people and help people whenever they're open to it, to get practicing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Fully my language, because to me, it's so clear that the old way of parenting is not working. It is not working. We wouldn't have all these epidemics of anxiety, depression. We wouldn't have all these miserable adults walking around that it could go in, and mental health, excuse me, and all of these things that are part of life. If you were parenting differently so that you're already dropped into the world with this idea that I matter, I'm seen, I have a voice, I'm of value, how can that not change everything else, right? How can that not change life?
Well, and I think that my biggest challenge in finding parents who are willing to look within themselves to do the work, because it takes courage. It takes courage to go, parenting is a very personal thing. And so I am transparent about my journey because I'm looking to build trust with people, because I authentically want to help people. But the biggest challenge I have is parents either feeling it's too late with their teenager, and it's never too late, never too late, or that they just are too afraid to look within themselves, but they're in the driver's seat for the change that they want to have with their kids. If they can get past the shame that a lot of us grew up with, feeling like I'm a bad parent, I'm overwhelmed, or
or I just should know better. I should know how to do this. Like,
those parents that I can get past that and are willing to look within themselves are in the driver's seat of creating the kind of relationship that they want to have with their kids. Doesn't mean it's going to look exactly like the parent wants, because of course we have no control over how our children are going to respond. However, when we shift to parenting with them, you will have much more opportunity for them to come to where we really want. And that is a loving,
Connected.
mutually respectful, trusted relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 Well, you're on the way. That's great, right? You reach everybody as it goes. And there's always, I think it's this whole thing too that it never dawned on me when I was nannying that the children could actually have a say. All that the children were individual. I didn't even have my training, and I was trained British nanny in England. That was not even in the picture. This was like what they do at 1 year. This is what they do at 2 years. And even in when I first became a parent, nobody spoke of, or my circle of nobodies, well, it's not my circle was nobody's, my circle of people. That was never even spoken of. Like it was an uncovering of myself and my own journey that made you go, wow. I remember one time punishing my son. He was friggin' 2 or something. And I was so struggling with this British nanny firmness and this is the way and kids, the whole Britishness. And then the reality of heart to heart seeing this little boy. And I don't even know what he'd done, but I was like, I think I need to punish him. So I sat him on the couch. I was sitting on the floor and I'm like, you need to sit there. And he's sobbing and sobbing. And I'm sitting there going, what on earth? This doesn't make sense. He's sitting on the couch we just read a book on. Like it doesn't make sense. And it's those turnarounds that you think, wow, if you had somebody who was showing that way, who was really demonstrating, was really speaking about it, and that the next culture of our young ones growing up and having kids already know that, hey, this, it's all the voices in our head, all the stuff we grew up with, all of that has a place to come out or to be brought to light. And our kids are amazing. They can do that for you, right? But it's not easy. It's not pretty. No. Some days you're like, just shut up. Just do as you're told,
Because I said so, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I have many a time said that and going, and your kids will take you there, right?
Yes.
So for, you spoke of this briefly, but so if when you mess up, I'm assuming, when you mess up, how good are you at repairing that for you, for your heart, and then with the individuals, like when you realize like you've done it wrong?
Well, it's gotten easier as I've practiced being vulnerable with my kids. And I learned, I don't know if it was just, reading books on it or just, certain situations in my own parenting where it's like, I messed up. And I realized that my kids appreciated that when I was vulnerable and willing to share that, and they saw me as more of a human being. And I think that's another element that goes with parenting with our kids rather than over them is that desire to, it's okay to be vulnerable with your kids. We don't want to be overly vulnerable. We don't want to overshare, things that would stress them out or things that they don't really need to learn.
We don't want to add stuff on them. Yeah.
Right. But to be honest with, I don't know how to bring this up to you right now. In fact, I had this conversation yesterday with my son who's going off to college. I'm like, what conversations do you think that I've missed? You're leaving in a week,
right.
What, just anything and everything. And I think when my oldest son was a teenager, while I thought we had good communication, I was afraid to have it. And I was, because I didn't know what to say and I didn't know the right way to bring up the topic of sex or dating or whatever other thing. So I just didn't, or I fumbled over it. And now I'm kind of in a place where like, so where do you think mom is messed up and not talked to you about, and my son's like, I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm not really sure. I'm like, well, be sure and call me and tell me when you are in a situation at school away from home and you're like, be like, Mom, we should have had this conversation and I'll be sure and apologize to you.
I'll preempt it. Yeah, that's perfect. That's really
I'm trying to think, have I had all of the discussions I needed to have? And I guess, again, what I want to say is, even if it's difficult for a parent to have a conversation with a kid on whatever topic it is much better to look like a bumbling idiot or to, just say outright, like, I don't know how to say this to you, but I just feel really called in my heart to tell you that I'm worried about you starting to date and what that might mean for, you know, your romantic life. And I want to be that place where you come and talk to me, because I don't want you to get information that isn't accurate from your
Right.
friends or whatever it is,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, you know, another thing that I have done with my kids, and this developed many years ago, we have something at night called the party.
Oh,
And the party is, it's in my daughter, so it ends up being in my daughter's bedroom, and she has a little pink salt lamp, and it's
okay.
very dim in there. And the boys are traditionally pretty quiet. And I mean, this has been going on so long that when my older sons sometimes come home and have to spend the night or whatever, or they come home for Christmas, they come to the party. Like everybody knows that, and you know, it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. We all gather in the room and we talk about the day, and we talk about what's coming up. We talk about, they might be pre-COVID, my kids would unpack they go to a very large public high school, and they would kind of talk about the things that they saw and the things that
Right.
were bugging them. And I mean, it's been going on a long, long time, so much so that I hope, and my fourth son is leaving for college next week, so it's just going to be my daughter and I. And she's like, I don't think we need to have the party, Mom. And I'm like, what do you mean we don't need to have the
Love
party?
the party.
But I want to respect who she is. And so what I'm going to say is we still need to have that connection on a regular basis. So how about if we go to brunch on Sunday, or what? I mean, I'm going
Yeah.
to, I want to make it a point, because so quickly our kids can be, especially as they get older, busy in their own activities and things. And then all of a sudden there's no time to have these tough conversations,
Mm-hmm.
or we're also busy. We don't know how to connect really, you know, so
Yeah.
we have to be intentional. We're the adults. We
Yes.
have to be intentional to clear time and space so that they can, even if they have nothing really major to tell us,
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay. Everyday
but
stuff.
they, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, you develop that relationship. That's the other thing that I didn't have with my parents, was really a relationship that was anything other than being grounded or grades or that
Mm.
kind of orientation. So um, that's one more thing I would say.
Yeah.
On the plus side,
Mm-hmm.
I had a mom who has always been my greatest cheerleader. Even,
Oh.
and has believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. And I mean that as an 18-year-old mom. And
Right. Right. Sorry,
I
I'm just
had to
losing
leave.
power.
I had to leave home. That was made clear to me. Like if I wanted to keep my son, I had to leave home. However, she babysat so that I could work. She gave me her old set of pots and pans so that I had some for my apartment. So she supported me
Mm-hmm.
in many ways while I became a young mom. And she's always been the most non-judgmental person I've ever met. And that's something
Yeah.
that I feel like I have been able to carry into the relationship with my kids as well. And I just think I've said to my kids, like, there's nothing you could do or say that would ever disappoint me. Honestly, I don't even know. I like literally can't think of
That's a
anything
beautiful thing to
that you
say.
could do or say that would disappoint me, because you're not here for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, kids are going to make mistakes. They're going to, and we're supposed to be
In
their
what
guide.
world did we decide that was wrong, right? In what world do we as parents realize that that's our job, that we need to get everybody, doing it right? Every grade has to be, you have to be polite, you have to be, leave them alone, man. Like, leave them alone. You be kinder. You listen better. You got an issue with that? Like, let's show by example. And, for sure we're guides, right? For sure we're ways to say, you know what, in the home, no, I'm not allowing that. Or, that's not comfortable. What can we do different? What can we do better, right? But it's
Yeah.
not, it's just weird to me now to really think, wow, who decided that as parents, as mums and as dads, that this is the only way.
Well,
That
and
makes
I think in
everyone.
part it's that generational parenting paradigm of the dominant, and so when you grow up and become a parent, it's like, wait a minute, shoes on the other foot now. You're going to respect me. I'm in charge. I need to know all the answers. I need to nip this in the bud now. So many things that we get in our childhood do transfer into our parenting unless we become conscious about the decisions we're making and the relationship we're building with our kids, and ask yourself, do I want to have a teenager where we're playing a cat and mouse game of, I'll put 360 on your phone so I know where you are, and then the kid sneaks and the kid leaves the phone someplace so it looks like they're someplace. But I mean, kids are smart. Like, just stop playing cat and mouse with your child and develop a relationship with them where you are their soft space to fall. You're not their friend. You do put structure in place where phones outside of the bedroom, or minimum, the older they get, the less rules, but make sure that the rules you do have are very important. No drinking and driving, no, like there's zero tolerance for these three things.
And natural consequences, right? You can't take the car off. That's one time. There's not, it's being in this real world of it, right? And I feel like exactly what you're saying too. There's a leaning back. And if we really believe this is their life, not mine, they're not there to fulfill me. They're not there to make me look like, hey, she's such a good mom. Look, she baked cookies every Friday, right? Like, they're not there to fulfill that. Let me fulfill it in my life. Like how let me find that elsewhere and not from my children.
So a couple years ago, the last page in my book is a quote that was downloaded to me a couple years ago. May I share it? Because it's so appropriate
please.
right now. It's so appropriate to this discussion we're having. So I just happened, this like popped into my brain a couple years ago, and it's, our children come through us, not for us, except for the lessons they reflect to us during their journey in an effort to grow us up along the way.
That's it. That's really it.
I mean, that's
drop right there. Boom. That's what, please take that away, everybody. Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like that is the journey and the opportunity parenthood gives every one of us. It's not about us imparting all this wisdom on our kids, which of course we need to teach them everything from how to drink from a straw to blow their nose to ride a bike. That's the kind of thing. However, we also are teaching them an emotional life, and that they're valuable for who they are and not who we want or need them to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what do you think has been the hardest part for you of parenting? Like the top one.
Well, I think, I will say this, with number 4 son going off to college and just having my daughter here and knowing the last 2 years that she's home will go really fast because I've learned. Right. I think adjusting to, well, I'm pretty hands off and I feel like my kids are fairly independent. I think the hardest thing for me will be to have the closing of that very long chapter in my life because I've been, doing it for so long. So I think that will be the hardest thing. And I can remember very easily 10, 12 years ago of being the parent of a 20-year-old who was addicted to alcohol and a 3 or 4-year-old that was, just beginning life, and all of the stages in between, and how stressful and challenging some moments were with that. But it goes so fast. And I feel like one of those old ladies now because I'm saying, oh, it goes so fast. But it really does. It really goes very fast. Even, those days can be really long. And those nights can be even longer at times. But yeah, I mean, and I think that's one of the hardest things that will be is that this chapter is going to be over for me.
Right.
But that's why I want to immerse myself in helping other parents.
Yeah, but you're coming with so much wisdom to do that. It's big difference to, when you come at it, like even my nanny journey say, like I really thought I knew. So when I was working with other families as a nanny, I mean, I was very judgmental, very critical, like really like, gosh, you guys, you just don't have it together, and the wisdom is when you've really lived it, when you've had struggles, like a huge struggle, life-changing struggle you had with your son, there's wisdom in that teaching, that opens it up for others.
And compassion and empathy. And I think the people that I've run into in my life that have the most empathy and the most compassion and the least amount of judgment are people who have gone through some big things in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps it is those of us that have done that that can help bridge the gap between, maybe people who rush to more judgment, to or who are so black and white, because I think that's another thing about parenthood is that it's not black and white.
It's going to show you that pretty
a lot
quickly.
Of gray. It's a lot of gray, and here it is.
Yeah. Mine is all sprouting again. No, absolutely. So as we finish up here, Kim, I could talk with you forever, but I might have to make this into 2 podcasts. What's the main piece of advice you think, if you could tell your younger self, like your 18-year-old self, as you first became a mom, that you know now that maybe would have made some things clearer, smoother?
It's okay to be human. Mm-hmm. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay if you learn. It's okay to make mistakes, but learn from those mistakes. You're not going to be perfect, and it's not even possible. And to keep learning as you're parenting. I think that's one of the other things that we do such a good job at times of getting ready for babies and learning about babies and maybe even learning about what toddlers are like. But we kind of forget to continue to educate ourselves on the brain development and emotional development of elementary school, of middle school, of high school. And that's really important for parents to continue to have a good source of education and or support for their own anxiety levels. I mean, if I had someone, like me when I was 18 years old to be able to just share my anxiety with so that I wasn't projecting it onto my kids, would have been an amazing thing. So get somebody you trust, in your life for sure.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kim. And I'd like to tell our listeners and our viewers for Facebook there, YouTube, sorry. Please subscribe. And also all of Kim's details will be below. I think her book, Becoming Me Whilst Raising You, is going to be a must-have in never mind. What's the book, the parenting book everybody goes by, it's gone from my head now, like a parenting book, but it's for babies, like how to baby.
Oh, yeah. Right? What to expect when you're expecting.
That's it. Forget about that. Don't worry about that. Go straight to these ones where you're going to start your learning right from the beginning, as you move forward.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. It's been such a joy to have this conversation, Anja.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you.